republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Today is February 24th. Can I have a roll call?
Beecher. Here. Basil. Here. Wheeling.
Here.
Caparros.
Here.
Meyer. Here. Kraus.
Here. And we get the minutes from February 10th. Are there any changes? Now, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion made. Is there a second? Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Beecher. Yes. Basil.
Yes.
Wheeling.
Yes.
Caparros.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes. Does the clerk have a report tonight?
No, that's it.
Anyone from the audience want to address the board? If not, number one, under my report is pretty well self-explanatory. Number two, Trustee Kraus and I had a conversation. We would like to further discuss this tonight, where once again, we think it's very, very important that we at least begin the advertising and the searching for a possible code enforcement officer in the future. And again, we emphasize that if during the budget process something changes or it's not budgeted, we realize that we can't hire this person anyways until the budget is approved. So again, we'd like to at least proceed as planned as we discussed in the meeting as far as Trustee Kraus and the group that particular day. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just be honest, the last meeting, I forgot the direction that we had talked about in our meeting, and I couldn't remember the conversation for the life of us. But when we did meet with the committee, it was agreed that we bring to the board, and if it doesn't go through, then we don't, if it's not funded, then we don't hire the position. But if we wait till, what's our budget, the end of March is the date, we don't start till April. We'd rather, if we're gonna fund this, get this person going May 1st, which is depending how the weather goes. That's when the complaints are gonna start rolling in, the grass, pools, fences, stuff like that. So I prefer to get started early, and if it doesn't get funded, then it doesn't get funded, and we don't fill it. We'll figure out some other direction.
Anybody have any real objections? Okay, good. We'll do so. We'll keep you informed of it as we go along as well. Item number 3, I thought it was very important just to inform the board that Randy Flores, who is the chair of the Youth Commission, has resigned, and Terry Caspett had told me that she was going to resign effective in May after the dances that are coming up. They are very, very instrumental, like other people to the Youth Commission. I just was very important to tell you guys that they are in fact leaving for bigger and better things. Their reasoning was basically time allotment. They no longer have the time to do it. I did talk to Stacy when I first heard of this. Is there a plan for a transition of some type? And Stacy said yes. And from what I understand from Randy and Terry, there is people that are up and coming in the organization to continue. You want to add anything to that?
That's pretty much it. We're just Terry's gonna stay on until the end of the dances and kind of field them and point them in the direction. They'll always be available to give them direction if they needed it. And we're just gonna work together to keep the Youth Commission going strong as it did with Terry and Brandy. We're gonna miss them.
On that point, I used to work with Brandy for the February. Is there any contact person for that?
I guess me,
Oh, you? Okay.
yeah, for now, until we decide how we're moving forward. Speaking of that, for the 4th of July Commission, when you guys put together your flyer, we do have some specifications for the bracelets on ages that will be able to be a part of that raffle. I don't have the paper with me, but I believe that we wanted to do kindergarten to children entering 8th grade for that raffle, for the bracelets.
For the parade?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk
Yes.
after the meeting.
I want to add one thing to that. Those two people, both are people that I recruited. And the Youth Commission started in 2011, and I ran it as chairman for the first 2 years. And I think it was probably around 2013, 2014. I felt it was important that residents ran it, and those two stepped up as chairman. They were both basically kind of co-chairman, and they put in a lot of years. that commission and compared to some of the other commissions, the hours that go into that planning monthly events and those two always toed the line. Anything, they always took on their share and then some, and, it's been a couple of years since I've been involved with it, since trustee Missouri took it over then, a couple of years ago, but, I'm sure they'll be sorely missed.
Very.
The things they did, I'm very grateful for, so.
Yeah, John is right about that. They did all of what they needed to do plus. They said when someone didn't do something, they immediately stepped up, I'm gonna take care of that, I'm gonna take care of that. And they definitely had a lot on their plates and they did it well. So, it's
They
a
did.
loss.
I did send an email on behalf of the board thanking them. I did emphasize that the talent in that group, especially those two individuals, is unbelievable of the things that they came up with. If you hadn't attended any of their events, I'm just amazed at how enthusiastic everybody is. So I did tell them thank you. I tried to hint maybe to reconsider, but that didn't work. So, but anyways, just thought I'd bring that up to you. Item number 4, Marcy can chime in as well. It's really something that we've already discussed in the past as far as the writing a check for the 4th of July Commission in the beginning of the year or in and around the May 1st date for the deposit of the beer. What has now changed is it's no longer a deposit. They will cash our check and you have to pay for the entire sum. And then whatever you don't use, they will refund you. So you have to upfront the money. So basically at the 4th of July Commission, they kicked around a couple ideas on borrowing the money and so on and so forth. I had indicated that we had the money, why borrow it? Why not just simply explain to the board that, look, they're gonna take the check, they're gonna cash the check, but then we're gonna get that money back in return once we decide on how many. They can't cut down the number of barrels because if in fact they run out of barrels, they're not gonna get any more barrels. So they pretty much have to continue as they have been in the past. And like I said, I emphasize the only difference is that they are in fact gonna cash that check. I believe they're asking for $50,000 if I remember right.
Yeah, because they're not 100% sure, they're saying 37,000, that could vary, and they don't have enough in their account to be able to cut that check, and it used to be we would write the check, they would just give us the check back, it never even got cashed. Now they have to actually cash the check. So we talked about just lending money to 4th of July Commission, rather than writing a check to a beer company. We're just gonna lend the money to 4th of July Commission, if they need to use it for the car or whatever they need to do, until they get up to having a $60,000 slush fund set aside to be able to cover these things. And we had talked in the past about kind of having a line of credit to help fund the fest. But with this new beer regulation, they pretty much have to have it, they don't have enough in the bank to be able to pay upfront for all the beer for the entire festival, and have the check cashed.
Any questions or problems with it? I think we
have a
talked to
problem with
finance,
it?
sure.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to give the 4th of July Commission a 30-day line of credit not to exceed $50,000 for the opening expenses related to the festival.
Okay, motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Under discussion, is this a standing motion, Frank? Okay, until it's repealed by the board,
Sure.
so you don't have to do it every year, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
When they finally get the reserves up, we're gonna have to repeal it.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's the intent. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Read that in the report. Finance Administration Committee, trustee Beecher.
All right, the first draft of the budget for the workshop is distributed tonight. The schedule is March 30th at 6 p.m. The second item,
We'll have pizza too, Frank.
you're having pizza?
We'll bring pizza.
All right, great. The second item, we participated in the community solar purchasing program. Bids were not favorable, so if you looked at the information we got, NIMEC is still lower than the solar sub-pool, so it's silly to change at this time. If no other questions, that ends my report.
Public Buildings and Properties, trustee Whaling.
Okay, Park District referendum update. The committee has come up with a the enclosed handout to be distributed or mailed to each resident in the village. It will also be placed on social media platforms. You can see it, it looks great. I think it explains, it has the pros and the cons and everything else. So I think we need to get it out, we need to get it mailed, we need to get it on social media. So I don't know what the cost, was the cost around $800?
Should I throw out a figure of $500 to give you the printing? That's already out on social media, it's already out.
It's on social media and on the website. I need to look into, I'm gonna call my postal service rep tomorrow and determine what the cost would be and how to, I was guesstimating the postage around $450. But I need to make sure for a single page mailing, if you have to tab it, how you fold it, all those kind of things. We need to put it on heavier stock paper. So we may, if we're gonna have it tabbed and folded, we may have to farm it out, which would be more.
But I think if we don't mail it out, we're gonna miss it.
I just gotta get the instructions from our rep to try and determine how to do that and find somebody to print it out for us, yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right, that is my report.
Planning, building, and zoning trustees are.
Thank you. Just to basically a reminder, the public hearing is this Thursday, February 27th at the Washington Township Center regarding the fences. This hearing is difficult to gauge because there has been very little chatter regarding the issue. Unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
We may have had a hearing in the township, and you have 3 or 4 residents show up.
Yeah, I haven't heard
No.
anything.
That's it. Public Safety Committee, trustee Cross.
Officer Reserve resigns to take the position as patrol officer for the city of Calumet City. Chief and I discussed this, I guess we're waiting for a opinion from our attorney, then we'll move forward from there. And then it doesn't say it, but the police department's reported in this paperwork. That's all I have.
Public Works Committee, trustee Burns.
Beecher wastewater treatment plant progress update. There was $11,200 in extra sludge that had to be removed from the inner 2 rings. That was not accounted for in the bid. The village will be using the remaining $9,200 of the IEPA loan for grit removal, and IHC will build the village for the remainder. The next item to consider is a date and time for the ribbon cutting and open house at the plant, where tours will be available to residents and board members. We're looking at either Saturday, June 13th or June 20th from 10 to noon. Anybody have any input?
No, both those days, just whatever.
We were gonna do it May 30th, but the Illinois legislature is still in
Yeah.
session. We wanna make sure they have an invitation, we're able to come, it's their money. They like the, we like having.
Both days work for me.
Alright, it's such a long way out, why don't we play it a little closer, see if anything pops up on either day that would eliminate one of them. But I'm fine with either one, so, we'll just make that decision in a month or two as it gets closer, and then we'll just make sure we let the board know. Consider a resolution adopting a complete streets policy for all village road construction or reconstruction projects. This policy states that whenever a new road is built or an existing road is reconstructed, like Penfield, then the village will utilize complete streets criteria in assessing construction options for the roadway. This includes bike lanes, crosswalks, and many things we already do. We need this policy in place to obtain 15 more points towards our score for the Church Road STP application, and it makes our application stronger. We agreed to adopt a policy in our comprehensive plan. So, if anyone's got any questions on it, I'll go ahead and, resolution number
2020-3.
2020-3. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-3, adopting a complete streets policy for all village road construction or reconstruction projects.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Need a second, any question? Roll call.
Ms. Zerk?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
Consider a resolution including the resurfacing of Gould Street from Penfield to Indiana Avenue as a LAPO project in the STP for Penfield. Window of opportunity is open for us to submit for additional grant funds to resurface Gould Street from Indiana to Penfield. Since it's an extension of an existing FAU route, it is part of a bigger project and it is being requested in a new call for a project cycle. In other words, the delay of Penfield may have opened the door for a smaller grant called LAPO, which is piggybacked onto the STP project for resurfacing only. The village would still have to come up with its 20% share of the cost, but obviously it's better than 100%. Unit pricing may also be very good with the Penfield bid. Staff recommends approval of the application. This means borrowing a little more than what was believed, but in delay, Penfield continues the making of funds into the funds. So I'll go ahead and make a motion approving resolution 2020-4, including the resurfacing of Gould Street from Penfield to Indiana as a LAPO project in the STP for Penfield.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Consider a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to the Will County Transportation Committee for STP funds for the reconstruction of Church Road from Dixie Highway to Cardinal Creek Boulevard. The board has already approved the use of the MFT funds for the application, but a formal resolution, which is enclosed, has to be included with the application. This resolution acknowledges the village's requirement of 100% for Phase 1 environmental and a 20% local match for Phase 2 design and Phase 3 construction. So I will go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-5, authorizing the submittal of an application to the Will County Transportation Committee for STP funds for the reconstruction of Church Road from Dixie Highway to Cardinal Creek Boulevard.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes. Consider a motion authorizing a public hearing for Tuesday, March 17th at 7 p.m. on the village's lead line replacement program. This is an informal walkthrough, open house type hearing where residents walk through exhibits and are asked to provide written comments. A similar public hearing was held for Penfield Street reconstruction. There is no need for a quorum or attendance by board members. The consultant staff will handle everything. The purpose of the hearing is to inform residents of the project and the use of IEPA funds to complete the project. The superintendent can provide more information. You got anything on that? Or?
That date actually has to change to Monday, March 16th. The EPA forced our hands on that. It's part of their plan. There's a lot of stuff coming up in March and April that has to be done. They're talking funding is possibly as early as May, but it's looking more like July or August even. So as long as we stay on their schedule, we should be able to get funding this year for the project, at least Phase 1.
We borrowed $61,000 for the meter part of the project. They're gonna forgive the rest of the project at $850,000.
Yeah, 880 something. Yeah, almost 900,000.
$96,925.
Yep.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing a public hearing for Monday, March 16th at 7 p.m.
Yep.
on the village's lead line replacement program.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Just a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Basil?
Yeah.
Missouri?
Yes.
Yes.
Economic Development Committee Relations Committee, trustee Meyer.
A potential craft grower of cannabis approached the village, and we actually met with 2 applicants this morning. So they are going for the March 16th deadline, I believe, which is the next deadline to be able to get a craft grow license. They issue the licenses July 1st, but they'll probably let them know prior to July 1st as to whether the state's going to allow them to do it or not. It's the state's, it's the state's decision. But they're looking at, is it okay to go into all of that?
I would say they're looking at property that's outside our buffer zone.
Yeah. So it fulfills the requirements that were set forth, in our.
They would still have to go through
They still
special
have
use
to go through the
permit,
special
go
use
through
process.
planning and zoning.
Yes. And
Planning and
they
zoning will
actually-
make the recommendation to the
They're
board.
actually applying for their special use permit, but we're waiting to see if they get a license before we start the special use process, because it just doesn't seem to make sense to have hearings and everything and have them not even get a license, so. They're going to put in their application and their check, and then we're gonna wait and see if they actually get a license and then take it from there.
We went over approximately, what, 2 hours, we were looking?
Yeah.
We explained everything, that we
Yeah.
could possibly explain that.
Yeah, I mean, she had her application on the computer, I was looking at floor plans, and I mean, she says, here, take the mouse, take the computer, look at whatever you want, and, you know, yeah, it was a interesting meeting.
This isn't, they came in, I think this would be the 4th time, but this, now it's more focused, so that's why we invited economic development and now start talking with them.
And they had even been initially looking at this from the medical side long before this, but,
That's it.
so that's it, yep, we're just waiting for
You said there's two
basically.
separate ones?
No,
So you
this
had 2
is,
meetings? Okay.
no, well, they've been here before,
Two applicants for the same application.
Yeah, the property owner and the craft grower were both here.
yes, yep, they were here together, so.
Any old business coming before the board? Presented by our
No,
secretary.
it just says that, then it's my report.
Any new business coming before the board? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.